any of your mics work?
No.
Oh,
Mine
Frank's,
came on.
Frank's
Mine's red.
does.
It's red. I don't know if it's working.
No,
Yours
we're
is
dead on this side.
This side.
is your mic working? No. Mark?
Frank's.
Welcome everyone. The municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc on Monday, October 20th, 2025. The municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc acknowledges is located on Treaty 21 territory. We are thankful to generations of people who have taken care of this land, including the Chippewa of the Thames First Nation, the Munsee Delaware First Nation, and the Oneida Nation of the Thames. Roll call, all are present. Motion to approve the agenda for this evening's proceedings. Councillor Hippel, second by Councillor Kennis. All in favor? The motion carries. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Councillor Palmer, then Councillor Derbyshire.
Item 13.1.4, 35 French Street West, indirect pecuniary interest. Applicants are members of the Chamber of Commerce, of which I'm employed.
Councillor Derbyshire.
Thank you. I have possibly a conflict of interest with 10.1.5 and 10.1.6.
Okay.
This is something that I am going to take my way out of because we have asked for a discussion on it. Didn't happen, and this action has been now taken against us.
Okay. Thank you. Any others? Okay, seeing none. Well, now council will now move into closed session at 6:03 p.m. for the purpose of discussing the following. One item in accordance with council's procedure bylaw to approve in-camera meeting minutes of October 6, 2025. One item pursuant to section 239(2)(e) of the Municipal Act as amended regarding litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality in section 239(2)(f) of the Municipal Act as amended regarding advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. It is an OLT severance matter of 106 Front Street. One item pursuant to section 239(2)(b) of the Municipal Act as amended regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal employees, CAO compensation. Someone bring a motion to go into closed. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Brennan. All in favor? That motion carries. Welcome back. Council met in closed session to consider matters as permitted to do so under the Municipal Act and is listed on tonight's council agenda. The following items were considered during the closed session. One item in accordance with council's procedure bylaw to approve in-camera meeting minutes of October 6th. The meeting minutes were approved. One item pursuant to section 239(2)F of the Municipal Act regarding advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Council received legal advice. Direction was given. One item pursuant to section 239(2)B of the Municipal Act regarding personal matters of an identifiable individual, including municipal employees, CAO compensation. Council received a verbal report. Direction was given to staff. Motion of direction given in closed session be approved. Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councilor Pelton. All in favor? That motion carries. And thank you for your patience, everyone. It is appreciated. Next up is delegation, community presentations, and petitions. We have Simon and Joanne DeGroot from 245 2nd Street. Request for delegation regarding 245 2nd Street, the zoning bylaw amendment.
Hi, everyone. First of all, we would like to thank you for considering our rezoning application. We thought it would be a good idea to put a face to this application. Simon and I are both long-term residents of Strathroy. I've been here for 39 years, Simon his entire life. We've raised 3 kids here, giving them the experience of farm life with the convenience of town. We are now lucky enough to have our grandkids come and enjoy our property. 7 years ago, we decided to tear down our older farmhouse in order to build our current house with the intention of one day retiring. We designed the house ourselves, making sure that it was practical for our present and future needs, and planned on living in it until we can no longer take care of ourselves. Strathroy has everything we need, which we appreciate. When we decided to build our new home, we knew that we were building in a future development area, but felt confident that we would be able to live out our retirement years in this house. With all the residential development to the west and south of our property that has happened in the last 10 to 20 years, the one residential house to the east, and with the future residential development that is planned across the road from us, we weren't really too worried about the future of our property. We figured we would fit right in. Last year, we came before the Committee of Adjustment with some of the members that were at that meeting are also sitting on council today with our application for severance, in which the committee approved subject to 15 conditions. One of these conditions being is that our property would be appropriately rezoned. We have completed the larger life-changing conditions such as removing our livestock, decommissioning our barns, and the pits. The remaining conditions will be met if the rezoning is approved. We are hoping to rezone approximately 1.6 acres where our current house is located from future development to residential, leaving approximately 72 acres future development land as is, in order to sever our house from our farm with the intention of slowing down our farming practice and someday selling the remaining property to whoever approaches us with an offer we can all feel satisfied with, without giving up our house and starting over. Again, thank you for considering our application.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Now we have recognition of retirement. I don't know if Jim's here this evening. Jim Westay is not here, but we are going to comment on Jim. Jim's been public works operator in our engineering and public works department. He'll be retiring at the end of this month. He has over 24 years of service with the township of Caradoc and the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc. So on behalf of council, I'd like to thank Jim for his dedication and service to our community and wish you the best in retirement. Next is service award presentation. Jeff LeClaire, 10 years of service. Is Jeff here tonight, Mark? Okay, so Jeff just has 10 years of service with the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc. So Jeff, on behalf of council, thank you for your years of service. And we have the Housing Accelerator Fund CIP update. Jesse here, Jesse McPhail from Republicanism, easy for me to say, will be present to speak to the presentation. So, Jesse, if you could give us the Precis version of your presentation, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Sounds good, Mr. Mayor. My name is Jesse McPhail. I'm joining you here tonight on behalf of Republic Urbanism. We've been working with the County of Middlesex and Strathroy-Caradoc, along with Luke and Bodolph and North Middlesex, on a review of their community improvement plans. So the goal with this project is to review those CIPs, to look at opportunities to augment them and improve the programming as it relates to supporting more affordable and attainable housing in the community. So I do have just a bit of a brief slide deck to kind of walk through the project a little bit tonight, and then if there are any questions, I'm happy to address those. Am I able to just share my screen?
Yes, just give us a minute.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so that should be up for everyone. So just a couple legislative notes. So this presentation tonight is, we're meeting the requirements for holding a public meeting under the requirements for the Planning Act. So CIPs, anytime you're adopting them or amending them, they are subject to the same criteria, albeit a little modified as an official plan amendment. So just a note that we are hosting that with respect to those requirements. And just another housekeeping note, just that if anybody can make oral or written submissions to council regarding the proposed amendments. So it's very much the idea that we're presenting these to the public tonight, and they're very much open for comment and refinement. It's likely that we'll be bringing back a more formal recommendation to council in November when those changes have been finalized. Just a note that if no folks do make an oral or written submission to council prior to these amendments being adopted, their appeal rights may be affected. So just ensuring if you have something to say, make sure you submit it and say it. So just a little bit about the project. So again, we've been working with Middlesex County and Strathroy-Caradoc on the CMHC Housing Accelerator Fund initiative. So this particular project is just focused on the community improvement plan. I understand that Strathroy-Caradoc has a number of different initiatives going under that fund. So this is one component of that kind of multifaceted attack on the housing challenges that are being experienced. So again, we're looking at not necessarily throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We're very much looking to reuse kind of the existing bones that exist with the community improvement plan, and really just looking to revise and amend it rather than adopt a whole new plan. So just as a refresher, what is a CIP again? A community improvement plan is an economic development and planning tool used by municipalities.
Tell you what we do, we're not gonna wait. I don't know if Director Lalone would be able to speak to this, so we keep.
2020.
Oh, there he goes, he's back. He's gone. So, in interest of timeliness and moving this forward, do you think you could speak to this, Director Lalone?
Mr. Mayor, are you?
Yeah, we're having trouble hearing you, so we're gonna flip.
Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna switch to my my hotspot here on my phone. I'm having some internet troubles here, so.
Okay. But again, we go down again, I can ask Heather if you could jump in.
So I've got another connection here. I'm just
Okay.
double checking if that's a little more stable.
Yep.
Good to continue?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that, folks. So as I was saying, Strathroy-Caradoc's community improvement plan was adopted in 2020. This plan actually includes quite a suite of different incentive programs, some of which already do address housing in some capacity. One of the goals under this CIP is housing for all, and particularly specifying the goals for increasing the number of attainable rental units in the community, as well as increasing the stock and density and diversity of housing units in the municipality. So in terms of the background work, we had prepared a joint background and context report. Strathroy-Caradoc was included in this, so Luca Godolphin and North Middlesex were also included in this report. This report really gave us a chance to dive in a little bit deeper on the municipality, the current housing conditions, and what we're looking at in terms of affordability and income levels and policy frameworks to make sure that we had a good understanding of the direction we wanted to go with some of the updates that were being considered. So that report was prepared in the summer, and would encourage if anybody's interested in learning more about that. That report is available to take a peek at. There's a lot of good numbers and data crunching in there if anyone's interested. And I just wanted to touch on the new county housing targets that were identified by Middlesex County as part of their Attainable Housing Review Report 2023. I'm not going to go into detail too much with these, but essentially the county had undertaken a Housing Accelerator Fund initiative to review what attainability should look like in the community and identifying some of the targets that the county and its constituent municipalities can work towards over the next kind of 5 to 10 years. So these were kind of used as a basis for setting some of the targets and informing some of the review of the community improvement plan. Just in the interest of time, I won't go into too much detail on the income, but I did want to provide a little bit of a snapshot of income levels in Strathroy-Caradoc. So these are based on the census. I just wanted to, for this particular slide, I just wanted to show what affordable housing looks like to different income levels. So what we do now is generally split income groups into 5, from very low income to high income in municipalities, and it helps paint a picture because 30% of gross household income it looks different to different incomes. So this table here provides an overview of what affordable monthly shelter costs should look like for each of those income groups. So why we use 30%, it's more or less a standard measure for whether housing is affordable or not, where you're spending no more than 30% on your shelter per month. So considering what affordable shelter costs would look like for each of these income levels, we now have a bit of a snapshot of what the market actually looks like in terms of ownership and rentals in Strathroy-Caradoc. So I'll just point out, and this shouldn't really come as a surprise to most, but home purchase prices are generally out of reach for a lot of folks in the community, regardless of the income. It's a tight market to squeeze into. Same thing with rentals. They're a little more affordable than home ownership, relatively speaking, but one of the challenges that we run into with rentals is whether there's enough vacancy and whether or not they're the right type of unit. So whether they're too big or too small to suit the household. So those are some of the challenges that we run into. Take these numbers with a little bit of a grain of salt. They're reported by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and these are based on CMHC market survey data that was prepared in 2023 and 2024. So the numbers may be a little different today, but we did need somewhere to kind of start with respect to reviewing the incentive programming and making recommendations. So in terms of the existing housing-related programs in the CIP, Strathroy-Caradoc does have 4 that we would consider kind of currently in a position to support housing. So we have the Intensification and Redevelopment Program, the Attainable Housing Program, the Downtown Rental Housing Program, and the Additional Rental Unit Program. So intensification and redevelopment, that one would be a little more focused on like mixed-use developments, kind of downtown developments that are not really residential in nature primarily. They would be more mixed-use, kind of upper-story residential units. The Attainable Housing Program would provide an amount of money to match construction costs on a per-unit basis, as well as some development charge relief and some application fee relief. What's specific with the Attainable Housing Program is there is a definition in the CIP currently where proposals would need to meet that definition for affordability. The downtown rental housing program, which would be similar to the attainable housing program, which offers just grants for market rentals in the community. And lastly, the additional unit program, which is secondary suites, basement suites, those sorts of things to help kind of diversify the rental units in the community, particularly on those larger, older legacy residential lots. So some of the key themes from the review, and I'll kind of jump into the amendments. The existing CIP actually has great bones. So as I mentioned, there's a good diversity of programs in there. It already kind of targets housing attainability. So one of our focuses was how can we make this a little bit better and more focused on attainability and attainable housing in the community. So we identified some opportunities to kind of merge some of the programs, particularly the attainable housing program and the downtown rental housing program into one program. And generally speaking, there's a need for more substantial incentives to be offered. And that's not necessarily a symptom of Strathroy-Caradoc. That's kind of across the board. Municipalities in Ontario are having, it's challenging to come up with the resources in the budget to fund supports that are going to move the needle on affordable housing projects, because a lot of times those don't have a great big return on investment for the development community, so it is kind of difficult to sell in terms of providing a carrot that's going to help enough. The last one was looking at the definition for affordability and attainability in the community. So a lot of best practices nowadays are using average market rent and income levels for the municipality as a measure of affordability. So taking that average market rent and then establishing a percentage below it to consider a unit as affordable. So that's one of the things that we looked at with the proposed updates. The last point that I want to make on this slide, and I'll move on, is just the average development cost estimates. So we have prepared these using some construction cost guide estimates that are prepared for Canada and for Ontario specifically, as well as some soft costs that we have researched within the municipality of Strathroy-Caradoc to come up with some average estimated development costs on a per unit basis. So again, these aren't going to be A+ grade data points. These are very much just kind of an anecdotal estimate that we had used to kind of ground truth why we need more substantial grants to support affordable housing. Because considering right now, it's expensive to construct housing. There's no kind of two ways around that. So in terms of the proposed updates, so we're going to focus on a couple of the key ones. The actual amendment document itself is a little more substantial. It would look like an official plan amendment in terms of content and detail. But the first we'll focus on is the new attainable rental housing program. So this program essentially merges the downtown rental housing program and the attainable housing program into one comprehensive program. So we'd be looking at applying this in the Strathroy and Mount Bridges settlement areas. And this largely kind of maintains the existing program structure that exists today, but it does introduce a tax increment grant component that is tied to how affordable the units are that are being provided. So with this program, one of the eligibility criteria would be that a new development supported under this program would need to provide at least 25% of units as attainable. And there would be requirements as part of that funding agreement that they maintain them as attainable for a minimum of 25 years. So that 25-year number, that is aligned with the ministry's exemptions and relief from development charges. So the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing establishes, I believe it's a 20 or a 25-year timeline that units getting relief for development charges would be able to enjoy it but need to maintain. So we're aligning this program with that. So essentially, what this grant does is it's self-funding in a sense that you have a major redevelopment that results in a difference in tax assessment on that property. So what you do is you take the pre-development and the post-development tax bill, for lack of a better word, and that pool of money is used then to provide an incentive according to that grant program. So and it would only be provided to units for the number of units that are provided at an attainable level. So what we're recommending is providing 3 kind of tiers of grant, ranging from $2,000 per unit per year up to $5,000 per unit per year, based on its level of affordability compared to average market rent. So at the top end, we have kind of 90 to 100% of average market rent. You'd be eligible for up to $2,000 per year per unit that is maintained at a rent level of that nature. So these are, very much looking towards a long-term solution, ensuring that we're supporting attainable housing creation and making sure that it remains affordable and attainable for as long as possible. This is why that 25-year period is used. It is quite a bit longer than what you would normally see with an industrial TIG or in a regular economic development tax increment grant, which are usually kind of around 10 years. But the importance here is that the longer that program is, the more substantial and the more compounding that annual grant becomes. Some other changes that we're looking at is the changes to the additional unit program updates. So these ones, relatively minor. The general scope of the program is kind of remaining the same, except we're removing the eligibility of garden suites to be captured under this program because they're not permanent in nature. So we want to make sure that we're supporting permanent housing creation. The second point is that we're refining the settlement areas. Refining the eligibility areas to just include settlement areas, to making sure that we're looking to intensify the existing urban areas and not contribute to sprawl. And then we're also looking at some minor adjustments to grant descriptions and the maximum funding amounts that are associated with this program. In terms of the environmental and sustainability program, so this is a program the environmental and sustainability program updates. So this program, the amendments here are introducing some provisions to allow for support for multi-unit residential rental buildings. So this would be market and affordable rental buildings, because the Housing Accelerator Fund initiative is focused on housing attainability as well as climate resilient housing. So this program was altered a little bit to support improvements to building envelope efficiency, renewable energy integration, green infrastructure, parking lots, things like that, to help upgrade existing rental and new rental units in the community. In terms of some other updates that are included, we added some language to clarify that Middlesex County can participate and is willing to participate and contribute to grant funding in the CIP. We introduced some performance and monitoring indicators to measure progress on the new attainable housing goals and the programming that's introduced. Again, as I mentioned, the definition for attainable housing was modernized. So this is modernized and aligned with the current provincial planning statement. But it does leave flexibility for Strathroy-Caradoc to determine at the end of the day what average market rent is. So whether they use that definition or whether there's another methodology that the municipality would like to use with more accurate data, you can do that. Language was also added to allow council to delegate authority to the CIP committee to make approvals of grants up to a certain amount. So as an example, if a grant is for a project $50,000 or less, council can consider delegating authority to approve those grants to the committee, so that council's not being burdened with a higher volume of applications and only dealing with those more substantial ones. We made some changes to the Mount Bridges economic area in terms of eligibility for the beautification program, as well as introduced a $1 million funding cap for the development charge grant component of the economic development program. Last but not least, we had also made some technical updates and revisions to the text to modernize the document and clarify eligibility requirements. So staff had provided those through a more detailed combing through of the document before we prepared that amendment. So again, the whole purpose of this exercise is to augment the existing community improvement plan, refine it, make sure it's set up for success with respect to supporting attainable housing, but remains realistic in terms of the amounts and the resources that are available to do so. So we feel that the tax increment option is one of the most viable in terms of long-term So we'll wait to see how that turns out, but we're hopeful that that program will be successful in providing support for attainable housing creation. To date, no feedback has been provided, so I'd just like to note that as part of the public meeting. And then in terms of next steps, as I mentioned, we'll be looking at bringing forward a formal recommendation to council in November on these amendments. So again, we'll be refining these with staff and making sure that everything's kind of got a bow on it before it goes for a decision. So thank you so much for, I know it's a lot of information to kind of take in, but I certainly appreciate it, and apologies for the connectivity there.
Any questions or comments? Councillor Pelkman.
Yes, I have two items. So the first is I don't necessarily agree with the removal of garden suites from the CIP program. I know that they're potentially temporary, but I think when the next set of owners come through purchasing houses, a lot of people are going to be looking at opportunities to generate revenue off their house. So I'm not so sure they'll be as temporary as you think they might be. Plus, in many occasions, a garden suite might be cheaper rent than a dwelling unit that's completely separate. So if you're looking at what's the most affordable, oftentimes it's the garden suite, not the apartment. And the other thing that I thought, the 25% threshold for, I believe it was apartment buildings, I thought might be a little high, given that every apartment building that we have on the block right now is on a holding pattern. I would be in favor of reducing that percentage to make it eligible, because some units are better than none, and right now we're getting none. So those are my two comments.
Any other comments? Councillor Wilsey.
I was just looking through, I want to talk again about the tax increment grant. I did a little bit of math on that based on what our targets are. So our target from the CIP program is somewhere around 500 units per year is what we're supposed to be trying to hit. This document states that we want to hit about 10% of that to be affordable or attainable. If we were to hit those targets and the CIP grant applies, for our $4 million that we're spending half of $1 million or whatever on consultants, for the first year, for those first 50 units, the refund we give in taxes is between $5 and $12.5 million. So to implement a $4 million program, we have to implement these changes. If we hit our targets and get 10% of affordable or attainable housing in our first year, that first year of housing will require us to deduct between $5 million and $12.5 million in tax. If we do that for the full 4 years, that's $20 to $50 million that we'll be giving back in tax, so we can get a $4 million grant that we're spending more than 10% on in consultant fees to start with. So just as, I know we're not voting on it during this presentation, but it's here, so I just want to talk about that before we look at the math.
So, Councillor Wilsey, I can't let that comment go without challenging it.
Yep, that's fine.
No, because I don't know if it's important, because it will be coming up in the next report in the half.
So let me,
Yeah, good, but I want to just ask either Director Dakin or Director Lalonde if you comment on that, because that's, I don't want to leave that hanging out there, Greg.
It's really easy math. If you look at page...
it's also interpretation of the program, right? So
no, it says that our target is 10% on the first page.
I'm just asking for clarification, because there's comments out there, and I just want to, I don't know if somebody can help clarify that. That's all I'm asking, Greg, because that's a comment I want clarification on. Director Lalonde.
Through the mayor to Councillor Wilsey, if we're talking about the CIP related to the half funding, under the contractual obligations of the agreement that the municipality has signed, we have an obligation to fund 6 units, not that larger percentage. So there would be a cap. And of course, with any CIP, the funds are budgeted funds, and when those funds are exhausted, the programs are no longer available.
Well, the only difference here is this says it's funded through future tax revenue, and that our target through the CIP program is to have 10% of our units applicable to this program. So I'm just reading just this document that's in front of me. knowing our targets are around 500 units, it says 10% are supposed to be applicable to these programs. And then it says that we're gonna give between 2,000 and 5,000 units per year for 25 years back, which is, based on that first year's target, is between 5 and 12.5 million. So, it doesn't seem like what I'm hearing from staff is lining up to what's in this document.
Okay, yeah, that's, sorry, Councillor, I just wanted to correct it. Councillor Pelkman.
I believe the answer to that question, though, is that money is coming from tax revenue that wouldn't have been generated had we not had the program there in the first place.
Okay. Yeah, Councillor Derbyshire. Yeah, go ahead.
That money's coming from tax revenue being generated by the building being built? But a lot of them qualify for 100% free fees, free this, free that. Like, so we're actually not getting development fees, we're not getting professional fees, we're not getting building permits. So what you're saying is the other units that are there are going to, the taxes are going to make up the difference of us losing on this. Okay, that was just, thanks for that clarification.
I see Director Dakin's hand on the switch, so it's an important point, Councillor, and I want to get clarity to it.
So I think the best bet is what we need to do is give you some examples of how this works. So I think that will come back with the document. We'll work with the consultant to come up with some concrete examples, just so it's not, you know, this calculation, that calculation. This is how it's going to run. These are the numbers.
And there'll be more when we get to the half report, correct? Councillor Brennan.
I think it's fair to say that council needs to be reassured that there are going to be guardrails in place, that we are not bankrupted by a limitless number of tax rebates here. And if there are in fact limits or caps, I think we need to be well aware of those. And we need to know what the source of it is, from which tax dollars is this being generated. Because we don't want to write a blank check that's going to cost us, you know, $50 million or something like that. So I think we need to understand what the guardrails are and how we are protected and performing a fiduciary responsibility and not putting the corporation at risk by participating in the program.
Any other Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. My comments come out of the actual bylaw. That's not the slide deck, but it's the accompanying document. So the implementation committee concept, section 7.12, and there's 3 or 4 or 5 sections underneath there. I would really encourage council to consider whether they want to do an implementation committee as opposed to holding this at council. This is probably one of the most serious and important folders and priorities of council, certainly now, and it's going to be in the future. So I think this is something council needs to have a firm grasp of and see all of the applications and be making those decisions. So if nothing else, at least we understand the program, we know where we are within the budget, and most of all, when people ask us, we have the answer in front of us because we're involved, as opposed to seeing a quarterly report or a semi-annual or annual report. So I would really like to have that conversation at the appropriate time.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? One last one, Councillor Derbyshire, then we'll move on.
Well, that's fine. I just didn't know if we needed a motion for Councillor Brennan's suggestions, or will they just be taken and put into effect, or does council need to direct staff in the direction Councillor Brennan was sending us?
I think I'm waiting till we get to the half. Wait till we get to the Housing Accelerator Fund report, because there is a motion in there, and I think a lot of the questions may be covered in there. And if there's a motion to be brought, can certainly bring it at that point in time. This was just for information. So later on in the agenda, Councillor, there is a report on the Housing Accelerator Fund.
So, but will Councillor Brennan's concerns, which is about the community improvement fund, be addressed with the Housing Accelerator thing, or do we need to make a motion here to address the community improvement fund?
Okay. So I'm going to turn again to Director Lalonde. Will those concerns be as part of when your half report comes in front of us, where if there's any motions could be made then.
Through the mayor to Councillor Derbyshire, I've certainly noted Councillor Brennan's concern, and that will be considered for the final report, and it is council's decision whether or not you want to have a formal motion to have that brought back to council.
Yeah. So, Councillor Wilsey.
Just a follow-up question on the CIP draft amendment. Will this be coming back to like a strategic priorities meeting, or are we accepting this for information or action, or what do we ask? What do we? I guess why is this here? Because we got a presentation, we didn't review it. We're not asking questions or making changes to it. So what's next steps with the draft bylaw that's with this item?
Yeah. Director Lalonde, could you answer those?
Through the mayor to Councillor Wilsey, the next actions as outlined in the presentation will be, there will be a report coming back to council. This served as a public meeting to talk about the proposed amendments to the CIP, and as per the process outlined at the beginning of the presentation. So it will be coming back to council later in November, early December.
Just as a follow-up, will it be coming back for us to discuss and make changes, or will it be coming back for us to accept it as written at that point?
Director Lalonde.
Through the mayor to Councillor Wilsey, that will be a council decision at that point. I think if there are questions at that point, we will certainly reconsider passing the report.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I'm gonna make a motion then.
Sure.
Sorry, I'm gonna make a motion that the recommendations that have been made here by staff, or by council. So if I don't know if we need to reread them, or if Councilor Brennan would do that, address the concerns that he had. But I think we need to put them into a motion so that we get that coming back in the final report. If you don't mind.
I would move that a final report on the CIP include information for staff, for council, that would indicate the limits and the caps and the guardrails that will be in place for this council, essentially to understand the degree to which we are limiting future tax revenue by agreeing to elements of the program. In other words, is there a limited pool of money? Is this a blank check? I mean, I'm wandering all over the place here, but I think we just need to be reassured that our exposure to tax refunds is limited, and that there are safeguard rails in place for us to effectively manage our budgets.
You want to second that, Councilor Derbyshire?
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor of that motion? Opposed, if any? That carries. Thank you for the report. Jesse, thank you. Thank you. Approval of the minutes. We have minutes in front of you from October 6th, 2025. Motion to approve the minutes as written. Councilor Palmer, second by Councilor Pelkman. All in favor? Motion carries. Next notice of motion, Councilor Derbyshire.
Thank you. So this motion went back and forth a few times as to whether it was going to be an open or closed. So I didn't put my full motion because it was going to be in closed session. So now that it's an open, I'm going to read what I would have read in closed. And I do believe it's changed a few times throughout this week, back and forth with what's been done and what hasn't been done. There was also an email that we all received from our CAO requesting that the motion be changed before the motion was even put on the agenda. But my motion is that as council, we have statutory responsibility under section 224D of the Municipal Act to ensure the accountability and transparency of operations of the municipality, including the activities of senior management. And that questions have arisen regarding the administration payroll, processing, and reimbursement of the Chief Administration Officer. Accommodation allowance is authorized in his employee contract, and council requires access to relevant financial administrative documentation to verify that all such payments were made in accordance with approval of the contract of council's resolution and payroll and tax requirements. Therefore, I ask that council direct the clerk and the financial treasurer to prepare, provide to council in closed session at a confidential report, including the following information covering the period February 25th to present. Payroll records showing all accommodation allowances, entries, reversals, and adjustments associated with the CAO. Accounts payable records for reimbursement or direct payments to landlords or related vendors, i.e. Caradoc Housing. General ledger transaction details for all accounts used to record the allowances or related reimbursements. Correspondence memos or spreadsheets prepared by human resource or the financial department staff describing the rotation of the payment changes, and a copy of council's resolution for approval and relevant to the CAO's compensation. All documents shall be provided all documents provided shall have personal identifiers such as banking details, social insurance, redacted in accordance with privacy legislation. This information shall be received and reviewed and closed as per section 239B, personal matters about an environmental or identifiable individual, and 2392, labor relations and employee negotiations of the Municipal Act. Following a council's review, council can determine whether further actions such as an external audit or policy amendment be warranted.
You have a seconder? Oh, sorry, Councilor. A seconder for your motion.
That was awfully lengthy. Are we looking for seconder for that or the one that's written in the,
Sorry, this is full detail of it's laid completely out. That was because we didn't know if we were going into closed.
Okay, so the seconder you're looking for now is for the one that's written on the minutes that were, or the full detail there.
I'm full the
All right,
full.
I'll second that one so we can get some discussion going.
Okay. Any comments, discussion? Okay. Councilor Brennan.
I understand the role of council and oversight, and I appreciate the sentiments attached here. I'm not an accountant, I'm not an auditor, and this is going to take up a lot of staff time, and we've already burned a lot of time, spent a lot of time discussing this issue on several occasions. We've got a lot of other things to do. I just like to go straight to an auditor and get some professional opinions on this and be clean and simple. That'd be my wish. Thank you.
Thank you. And just commented, and for everybody aware, I did use my strong mayor powers today and sent a directive to staff about this matter, directing staff to engage a third-party auditor. Councilor Derbyshire.
Thank you, and I do appreciate Councilor Brennan's comments. I just will say, the only reason I put this forward is I was going to make a motion 2 weeks ago, and I was informed by the mayor that he was going to make it come to the closed meeting with all the documentation. What we got was an Excel sheet with numbers, no proof that any of this happened, and that sounds terrible, it sounds like I'm saying it didn't happen, but there's no documentation to say this is where it happened, which is what section 224 says we are entitled to see the transactions of where this happened. That's all I'm asking for. I don't want to get into whether the tax was this, that, or the other thing. I simply asked a question almost a month ago. And I called it double dipping, but are we paying him his accommodations, and are we paying for the housing? I was told by everyone, not everyone, I was told by Human Resources, the Director of Financing, and we're not doing that, and we can show you where this didn't happen. So I understand that Mayor Grantham has gone and used his strong mayor authorities, which is great on one hand. On the other hand, you did turn over those authorities to council to be in charge of the hiring and firing. And although this isn't hiring and firing of the CAO, you're also one of the 4 people that were involved in the original decision to change and modify the accommodations. So I do believe if council wants to go down the audit role, that what it should be then is that we as council assume full oversight and authority of the audit. That the mayor take no further role in this because he was part of it. And council approved the auditing scope and the reference at the next regular meeting, and that M&P's findings go through council and through legal and legislative, not through the mayor or the CAO.
Councillor, they're not going through me. The directive was to go through the Director of Legal and Legislative Affairs. That was the directive.
Thank you. I just was pointing out that.
I have nothing to do with it. That's why I turned it over to.
No, but the CAO, just so we're clear, the CAO first sent out a letter to all of council asking it to go to, no, don't. I'm explaining. The CAO sent it out and asked that council put it to M&P for an audit. I have it right here, Donna. You didn't read it? That's the email. Then what happens is, my motion isn't even on when that is sent to us. My motion didn't get approved till Tuesday afternoon. That's sent Tuesday morning. Then, I'm assuming on Friday, you put forward your motion that you're going to use strong mayor authority for the first time ever.
Yep.
To push this forward, even though you are one of the 4 that originally made the decision that this kerfuffle, as you call it, is here.
Councillor Derbyshire, if you've got something to say about myself and my role in it, I'm going to welcome you to say it in open council.
What I'm saying is, I don't think you should be leading the charge on
I'm
it.
not leading the charge.
Because you're involved in it. You've apologized, whatever word, that French word or Spanish word you
Councillor,
use.
we're going to move on to the motion in front of us, because I've turned this over for transparency to the Director of Legal Legislative Affairs to deal with our audit.
So if you've turned it over, who's running it then? Who sets the parameters? Council or you?
The audit is on the specific transaction.
What specific?
Okay, Councillor, if you want to debate my actions, we'll do that after, but we have a motion.
But what you're telling people is don't vote on this motion because you've already made a motion. So I'm asking, what exactly is your scope? My scope was clearly broken down in here.
Mine is on, I can read it to you, Councillor. We're not here to debate.
Well then,
We're not here.
but you brought it up. You said, I actually have already done this. I didn't bring it up. You inserted your motion into mine.
No, I
Yes,
moved
you-
ahead to initiate an audit into expenditures related to accommodation expenses incurred by the Chief Administrative Officer. But Councillor, we're not here to debate my actions, we're here to debate your motion.
I understand, but you inserted your motion into mine.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. We'll go back and watch the tape. It's on tape.
Councillor, we're here to debate this motion, and we can talk about my actions if you wish. So you have a second motion in front of us. All in favor of the motion?
Discussions?
Oh, did you have some? Sorry, Donna. Sorry, I didn't see your hand. I didn't see your hand. go.
Well, I was trying not to wave it kind of while I was talking. So in regard to the email we received, just for clarification, the CAO says that if council believes that there has been any malintent with regards to the expenses, please pass a motion to request an auditor. And I would not be supporting this motion because I don't think there has been any malintent. And I am satisfied with the responses I have gotten when I personally asked the Director of Finance and the Director of HR that there has been nothing, no malintent here. Yeah, it didn't go smooth and the process is certainly lacking perhaps, but I have no reason to believe there's anything worth an investigation. And I'm a little, we have so many important things that we want to accomplish, and I feel like we keep sending staff in all kinds of directions, and now we're going to incur more expenses and I don't feel personally that it's worth the expense.
Okay. Councilor Derbyshire.
I'm not asking us to spend an expense on an M&P. I'm asking us to follow section 224 of the Municipal Act, where it says we are entitled to see any of these documentations that are part of the financial thing. When I asked the mayor, and he said, Bo, don't make the motion, I'm going to get human resource to bring all those documents, and they brought an Excel sheet. The Excel sheet can be made at any point. What I was asking for was just show me May 16th where it went in, went out, and went back. And if anybody, if nobody cares about that, that's fine. But remember, we didn't hear about this for 4 months, and we only found out because it was caught by a check roll. Not because people were open and honest and upfront and honest and said, I've changed the agreement and I'm now starting to pay Caradoc Housing. It was a check roll caught by a civilian that reported it to us, to me. So it's not like they were open, honest, and transparent about changing any of it.
Any other questions, comments? Councilor Kennis.
I'm voting no on the motion. I'm concerned about the accusations of improper behavior, dishonesty of our staff. I just think it's totally uncalled for. And that includes really questioning the integrity of the rest of us here on council as well, saying that we have our heads stuck in the sand and are not reacting properly. So I thought about this a lot the last few days. It has upset me a lot. I just think it's just unbelievable, and we need to move forward. As Councillor Pammer said, we're not getting anything done. We're running around in circles trying to find things that don't exist. So I'm voting no.
Councilor Brandon.
I'll also be voting no, but I think we have to caution ourselves when we use words like, it was caught. Makes it sound like someone was trying to hide something. I don't think anything was hidden. It was in a check roll. And people being honest, I don't think people were trying to conceal. Largely, this is an administrative matter that went sideways with a couple of mistakes. There can be better best practices, I agree. And then the dollar figures, although they are tax dollars, not very large at all. So I'll be voting no.
Okay. Any other questions? I'm going to call the vote. All in favor of the motion? Opposed, if any? Motion is defeated. Move on to the consent agenda. There are a number of items in front of you this evening. Does anyone wish to pull anything for Deputy Mayor?
I have a question. I think it'd be to the clerk first. So I notice in 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, those all require motions. Mm-hmm. So I always thought that those wouldn't appear in a consent agenda because they actually require somebody to make a motion second, blah, blah. Am I correct on that? In which case I should pull those three out?
You should have done that, yeah.
Yes.
I would have pulled those anyways.
All right.
Deputy
So
Mayor.
I got a couple of them here. I'm
Yep.
gonna pull 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, almost all.
Okay.
You just pulled them all
The
up.
Conservation Authority, or?
Yeah, I just have a question.
Any others that need to be pulled?
All of them.
That's, well, yeah, that's all of them.
Sorry.
Sorry, our director.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay,
Very good.
yes. Councilor Wilsey.
Article 10.2.1, I believe is the only item on the Housing Accelerator Fund
Yeah.
that we have.
Okay. So that leaves 10.3.1, 10.3.2, and 10.3.3. Does anyone wish to remove those? Is that fair? All in favor of receiving those three for information? That carries. Okay, I need someone to bring the motion to approve those three.
Oh,
Deputy,
three?
yeah,
But
Deputy Mayor.
which three are, I'm
The
sorry.
one we did, 10.3.1.
Oh, I thought we did that already. Okay, yeah, I'll make the motion,
Yeah,
sure.
someone is, Councilor Hippel, all in favor? That carries. Deputy Mayor, floor is yours.
Okay, I'll make the motion on 1.1 as presented to us by council for the.
Second. Councilor Hippel, all in favor? Carries.
You can move it around if you want. but
Okay,
it's
anyways,
full
10.1.2, that's the noise exemption. Councilor Kennis, second by Councillor Palmer. All in favor? Motion carries. The temporary road closure. Anybody wish to speak to that? Deputy Mayor.
Make a motion. Oh, I thought I wanted a motion. Or is that just a notification? I
That's
thought
just a notification.
That's just a notification. I thought that.
Okay, anybody, do you wish to speak to that? You asked for that to be removed.
No.
Okay. We'll vote on that one next. The SCRCA September board.
That was, I asked that.
Yes.
So I just noticed that they're coming up with a 25 or 26 over 25 budget increase of 8.1%. I fear that we're going to see a lot of these type of high percentages coming in, and we got budgets coming up that'll be dealt with there, but everybody's going to ask for more money. Everybody's been tight for a long time, and I would really push back to all of these agencies saying 8.1 is probably not acceptable in today's world.
If I
Yes.
could respond to
Yes,
that.
you're on that board.
We have a board meeting of the Conservation Authority this week, and they're coming back at 5.1 rather than the 8.1. 1% on the capital and 4% on the general operating levy. So they're working at bringing it down.
That's good.
Okay, thank you.
Ours is gonna be done again.
Any other questions, Councillor Palmer?
How do you approve this?
Nope, I'm gonna wait till we get them at the end and then approve
Okay,
that.
sorry, you were moving so quickly. I just pulled up the parade
Yes.
closure, and I've noticed they're asking to close the road on the parade day from noon till 2:30 p.m. I see Director Milborn has just stepped out, but generally when we have a road closure, we need to close it a lot earlier than that, so.
Actually, I think Director Ortiz, right, because personally, he's had a number of meetings with the Lions Club.
Yeah, that's through the chair to Councillor Palmer. Yeah, we're going to be closing the road before the 12 o'clock timeframe. They will be, I think there's a map attached to that report. So it shows the staging area. That staging area, they're going to be staging around 10 or 11 o'clock. So we're going to provide additional details to the public on the timing of the road closures. That'll be coming shortly.
Thank you. You just got called doctor, but you got a promotion. Deputy Mayor, 1.5 and 1.6.
Yeah, so I'll speak to them together because they're very much connected, but so on this one, I'm concerned because you're pulling yourself out of a conversation when between the two of you, you form 2/3 of our Ward 2 councillors on an extremely sensitive and hot button topic, I can say, within the community ever since we've first taken our seats here 3 years ago. You both bring a great deal of insight and consideration and thought into the matter. So I'm confused as to why you feel you have to step away from a conversation that you have both brought so much information to over the last 3 years. And I think we owe it to our constituents to be present and to make the hard decisions when they're asked of us. And that was a hard decision, the big one where we put through Mount Bridges wastewater. And in fact, I voted with you and Bo, and I had my reasons that those don't matter, but that side of the conversation needs to be heard. So I'm not sure what conversations have occurred between yourself and somebody else in Ward 2, I suspect, that makes you feel like you shouldn't participate, because I think you should. I'll leave it there.
Okay, Councillor Wilsey, you wanted to speak to 10.21, the housing accelerator. Oh, sorry, Steve, I'm looking down there.
So I had some questions about this as well. You know, we got the first email from Councillor Derbyshire, and I'm like, well, you know, in some ways I get it. You know, whether or not that they worry that they feel they can't share information, or or it's just the appearance that they've shared information. I was like, okay. But then we got the second one from Councillor Wilsey, and when I compared them side by side, they are word for word identical, including the quotes and stuff from the act, and quoting the same piece of the municipal act that they think makes their case. And I think that that should be pointed out to the public, that those are not two individual thoughts. They are either clearly working together. One of them wrote the letter and one of them didn't. So my question is who wrote the letter?
Is that a question, Councillor?
Yes, it is.
Yep. Councillor Wilsey. Councillor Derbyshire has recused himself.
I had discussion with Councillor Derbyshire, I had the same feelings, and the letter that he wrote matched some of the reasons and discussions we had, so I thought that the same letter would apply to me. It's no different than using the same letter or form letter for anything else we're doing. I just I agreed with the sentiments and I sent him the same letter.
Councillor Brennan.
An amazing pair of letters. Been on council a long time, never seen anything like this before. Of course, everyone has the ability to step out of a meeting because they have a direct or an indirect pecuniary interest. That I understand. I'm not, and I don't believe that staff is allowed to not share information on important topics with all councillors. Whether or not a person's going to recuse themselves from a meeting or not is their own decision, and I'm not going to challenge that at the moment. Or ever really, because it's not for me to choose. If someone has a conflict, they say have a conflict, either direct or indirect pecuniary interest, I'm not going to challenge that. That's the public record, they have to deal with the world. But to not receive the information, to choose to not to be informed, I think that's an abnegation of councillor responsibility. We get elected here to represent the interests of our community, and we are obliged to be informed. And I don't think staff is allowed, even if we direct them to not give us information, because then that sets staff up to the accusation that information has been withheld from members of council, which would be horrible. But for a councillor, and I'll use myself as an example, if I say I don't ever want to hear anything about snow removal for reasons that I think are incredibly important, and I'm going to recuse myself from those meetings. I can recuse myself from the meetings, I guess, but for me to direct staff not to give me any information on snow removal is absurd. It's an abnegation of councillor responsibility, and so I'm quite surprised to see this. I was astonished to see this request. Be informed. And don't put staff in the position of having to be the arbiter of what information councillors get and don't get. Choose to not be in a meeting and participate in the decision, I think, is a fair thing for a councillor perhaps to consider. But to ask others not to give them information, I was just astounded at this. So I remained astounded.
Councillor Altman.
So I guess the answer that I need to know as well is, where does this stand now?
I think it's a matter for the director or the clerk. Could you comment on what Councillor Brennan has said and Councillor Altman?
Sure, thank you. So I did send an email out to council, just describing exactly how Councillor Brennan put it. It is not up to me to decide what to withhold of council as far as information go. It's my responsibility to ensure that all of council has all the information at all times. So in that, a conflict can be declared at the meeting, at the time, just like any other, and that's really up to the member to decide.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Councillor Peltman? Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Deputy Mayor.
I just want to reiterate the importance of all of council being involved, and because these two councillors have brought tremendous amount of information and discussion around this table, and that's healthy most of the time. Sometimes it gets a lot, but generally speaking, it is healthy. And by recusing yourself, you're really abstaining from your vote, which is a negative vote. And that may not serve your interests. So I would just, like, you're two very important people at this table that I don't want to see step back, but you have to make your own determination, and I'm not trying to do that on your behalf. But I think it's really important. I don't know what has gone on here, why you feel that way. I've had conversations myself with people, but I don't feel at all that I'm conflicted or anything else about it. So I would hope at some point in time that these letters disappear and we see you fully engaged in the matters that you're recusing yourself from.
Any other comments, questions? Okay. Seeing none, Councillor Wilsey, the Housing Accelerator Fund overview, you wish to speak to that?
Yeah, just when we had the discussion in council about this, we asked for it to come back and to get a bit of an update on the cost and what each one of these things what came forward. And when we had the presentation earlier today, it was alluded that some of the costs from the different programs would be included later in the agenda, which this is the only item on the agenda. So when I read this attachment, I see it only talks about the consultant fees. It doesn't talk about how much each one of these programs is to implement, whether that's the CIP or my rough math I did on the CIP. And really, just to be clear on the first one, the numbers I put forward on the CAP, that's just if we hit our targets. The other question I had on this one is, what if we don't hit our targets? If we don't get the 500 units we need built this year, do we have to give the money back at the end of the year? That's not included in this report. There's a bunch of costs. Like, we're already spending the money because that's in this report. We've already spent however many hundreds of thousands of dollars it is on consultants, we've committed to that. But if we don't hit our targets, and with our targets being as high as they are, they're close to double what our historical building average has been. To do 5 to 6% hit the Department of Finance numbers, so that's around 500 units, and we've only ever hit mid-200s. And especially when our report for building in June said we'd only been at like 15. That means we had to build 500 units in the last 6 months, which I don't believe is reasonable. So what's missing in this report is what council had asked. We don't know what the total costs are going to be. We don't know how much each of these programs are going to be to implement. We don't know what happens if we don't meet our targets. This really is only like a small percentage of what council asked for this update. So I'm just wondering if we could ask for a more detailed report, or if there's another one coming, or what we do, because this is just telling us where the consultants are at spending the money and nothing to do with our targets, or what happens if we miss the targets, or what the programs cost to implement in the long run.
You turn it over to the gentleman to the right of me. Through the chair to Councillor Wilsey and council members. If you go to page 9 of the report, there's a cost breakdown of what the expected costs are to be associated with. And as well in the report is the contract, the agreement that was signed by council and the CMHC, which outlines our action plan and Schedule A. If we want to focus in on just the CIP at the moment, the CIP with regards to the half funding is for 6 units, not 10% of 500 units. It's for 6 units. The grant program with regards to the DCs is, I believe it's 600,000 funded through the half funding. The CIP, sorry, I'll back up a bit. The CIP for the 6 units can be funded through our current CIP program, and it's over 25 years. So it's not, we're not going to be paying that out every year. It's spread out over the 25-year life of the plan. The CIP the DCs. So we have a total expense of $750,000 currently. That's if council proceeds with all of the initiatives that are identified in this report, which leaves about $3 million that can be allocated to other areas that are supported through the HAF funding, which could be pipes in the ground, could be other infrastructure to help accelerate the construction of new homes. And I'll look at my colleagues at the table there if I've missed anything with regards to that.
So can I just interject one question? It's a self-funding program, correct? So for lack of a better word, the federal government through CMHC has given us $3.8 million and given direction how we need to spend some of it, including the $600,000, including, as Greg says, like the consultants. That's part of the agreement that you will contract with consultants. But that money comes out of the $3.8 million. I did read it, and that leaves us with $3 million, correct? But it is the way I read it, it's a self-funding program.
Through
I'll
the chair.
let them answer, but that was the way, yep.
Sorry, through the chair to the chair. You are correct. The CIP component of those 6 units can also be funded through the HAF funding or can be funded through our current program. So there is a couple ways we can do that, but it is intended to be a self-funding program.
Yeah. Sorry, Councillor Wilsey, then I'll go to Councillor Falkman and Councillor Knight.
So just 2 comments. On the CIP report that we got today, it said that the target was for 10% of our housing units built over the next 4 years to be applicable to that CIP program. That was right on the first slide, which would be 50 units per year. Maybe I did the other math wrong, but we'll wait for the staff report. We already discussed that. The other part is if you look at the agreement that we signed, it's point 3.4, which is on page 2. It says the completion of the initiatives, the achievement of the housing supply growth targets, and the additional targets, and the submission of the housing needs assessment report are collectively referred as the agreement. So the achievement of the housing growth supply target, from when I read that, tells me that we actually have to meet our numbers of 500 houses in a year. And if we don't get that, do we not get the money? Like that part has never been made clear to council, at least not what I've been pressing, what I remember.
Director, sorry, I see a hand back there that we got, yes.
Through the chair to council, just a little bit of background on the 575 units. That is over a 4-year period, which is the duration of the funding, and it was calculated through past construction permit activity. So they are numbers that were carefully calculated from 2019 to 2023. So there was a formula used for that, but the 575 is over 4 years.
So, Councillor Falkman.
Yes, thank you. I know this report's just for information, but there's a couple of things in here that alarm me, and they're for the most part wording that I think we need to be careful about using. So one, I don't believe that we should be jumping to 4 units as a right until some government makes us do that. I do not believe we should be proactive about that. That is going to cause all kinds of parking issues. Even just one house on a street converting to 4 units, if there's not sufficient parking, will cause havoc on the entire street. So I would not be in favor of that, and it talks in the report about us being proactive and jumping to 4 right away. I would not agree with that until somebody makes us do it. I did have a conversation with the planner for Middlesex County about parking restrictions, so I'm satisfied with that. With the municipal lands, making municipal lands available for housing, on the bottom of that it says timeline RFP to be issued in late 2025, awarded by council early 2026. We have declared the land surplus. Does not mean we have to sell it. And I believe we talked about a process that would not be following the RFP process that's outlined in our purchasing policy, or sale policy, I guess would be. And council has the ability to waive that. So I don't think it should be going out in the public that we're putting this land up for sale this year and awarding it in 2026. To me, when the public sees that wording, we're being paired into a box that maybe we can't get out of. And I said it before and I'll say it again, I will not vote for something that makes profit in a profit developer's pocket with lands that I'm not 100% sure we'd be selling in the first place. Again, I talked about the garden suites. It's mentioned in here about removing garden suites. I don't agree with that at all. And I think the 25% target for the CIPs and apartment buildings is too high. So.
Fair comments. Councillor Brennan, did you have your hand up before?
I did,
Okay.
and
Then I'll come to Councillor Kennis.
I noticed that this proposal is split into a series of initiatives, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and there is in here they have lots of things, of milestones and things like that, but expected results in terms of the number of units, I guess. 38 estimated permitted units that the initiative will incent in section A, initiative 1. And this is the HAF stuff, right? But how does that interact with the CIP stuff? And does the HAF stuff, does it qualify for tax rebates as well? I'm not sure how these two programs are both going to function in our community, how they're going to interact, how they're going to affect our budget, how they're going to affect, quite rightly, Councillor Pelkman says, parking issues, havoc within neighborhoods. I'm not exactly sure what we're signing up for. And in that state of confusion, sort of the CIP and HAF, what are they, how are they different, when do they get implemented, and what's the cumulative effect of both of them going into, into effect. It's a lot of changes in a really short period of time that could have long-lasting effects, and I'm not sure how it's going to affect our bottom line in terms of taxes or tax revenue. We're told that it's a self-funding program. I'd like to see the mechanics of that. I'd like to see that demonstrated. I don't want to be told it's self-funding. I want to see a demonstration, very tangible, of how this is indeed self-funding, because things change. I'm not going to be on the next council, and some poor schmuck's going to be sitting here and saying, what the hell did they vote for when the other penny drops or something, and we didn't ask enough questions about this. So I'm worried about the long-lasting effects of these programs, not fully comprehending what this is doing to our community.
Councillor Kennis. Then I'll come back to you, Councillor Wilsey. Then
Yeah, I guess my concern is...
There's you over here too, so...
my concern is that we're sort of putting the cart before the horse. We don't know exactly what we're going to receive here yet. We've got 7 initiatives outlined in blue, and all of them are in their early stages. They're about halfway down towards the right to completion. So I think we need to, and I expect that's what staff is doing. They're looking at all these initiatives and seeing what works or doesn't work for our community. And so I think we have to give them the opportunity to putting their thoughts together and presenting a plan to us, and it's at that point that we can make a decision one way or the other. But I also believe that if we have money that's been presented to us and we can use in our community, we should do that. And I don't think we should be throwing out alarmist numbers that we're picking out of the air that we can't back up. So that's all I have to say.
Councillor Palmer, your hand up.
I guess I'll start with a question. We have already been approved for this. This is not, we're way past the discussion stage on it. This has actually been implemented. So I feel like we're kind of, once again, looking backwards, wishing we had asked more questions. And now we're in the middle of something and we're asking questions. So that's my first comment, and I saw some nodding heads from staff. So yes, I am correct. We're already in the middle of this.
Yeah.
I was at the Western Ontario Wardens Conference last week, and unequivocally, every minister that was there was telling you loud and clear, you better get housing moving if you want to get any money for any sort of infrastructure project. We are in a housing crisis. I heard of examples at that conference of other municipalities with vacant land that gave it to developers, didn't sell it, actually sold it for $1 to get affordable housing in their community. What I feel like I'm listening to is a council that's not committed to doing something to get attainable and affordable housing. Is it gonna cost some money? Yeah, it is. We spend money on all kinds of things, and I don't think this is a bad thing to spend money on. And we have an opportunity. We are gonna be pushed into 4 as a right, and then when we have to do it, guess what? The money's gone, we've lost the opportunity. So we take it now, it comes with the 3 million, or we say no to the 3 million, and in 3 months, we're told we have to do 4 as a right anyway, and we don't have the 3 million. This is coming, guys. It's here. So I think we need to get on with the bandwagon, do something proactive for the community. Yes, we do have to be responsible and understand all the implications, and it is gonna cost money, but not to the expense that we're gonna stall the whole thing, lose the investment, or the grant. I'm a little disappointed, because I feel like what I'm hearing is that there's no real support or goodwill for this sort of project, these projects.
Councilor Derbyshire, then we'll.
Okay.
And I think everybody's had a say on it.
Thank you. And I can appreciate where Councillor Palmer's coming from. The other side of that is, we have to remember, we're 2-tiered. So the other municipalities maybe aren't 2-tiered that have decided to give their land away. We just have to keep it into perspective, just like the numbers. We can't just start. When you begin to look at this thing here, and this would be a great question since we're already down the line, halfway through it, are we gonna meet our targets that allow us to keep the first 900,000? So maybe that's the first question we ask. And if we're not gonna do that, well, now we're down to 2 million that we can spend on infrastructure. And like, if we've already started the program, we've already been given the money, are we gonna meet the first round of it? Maybe that's the first question we ask. The second thing is, who has taken it upon themselves to make sure that we have all the checks and balances that they are requiring that we report in order to keep this money? Because in here it talks about reporting and recording all our things and making sure that we keep them abreast of what's going on. So is that the CIP program doing that, or is this the HAVE program, or what part of staff now do we have that is taking this project on? And what's the cost of that?
So, fair question.
And I just have one more quick one with the whole money in general. The $750,000, is that a one-time fee, or how much annually is going to keep coming off of that? So, yes, the first year cost us $750,000, but the next year, does it cost us $400,000? So we really, in order to maintain the program, we keep eating chunks off of it, where it begins to eat itself up just to be in this thing, and there's actually not a whole lot of benefit to it. It just essentially kind of rolls along, and yeah, we get a bit more housing going, but we're really taking a kicking on everything else. And this program, when you say it pays for itself, does that just mean it just covers the cost of operating this program?
There was a couple questions there. I'll see if I can get you a couple answers.
Sure.
Councillor. In terms of administration and reporting of the project, Director Dakin.
Through the chair to Councilor Derbyshire. So I am sitting in on a webinar next week, I believe it is, where they're walking through the reporting program. So how do we fill out the reports, all of that. It's a 2-hour session that I'm sitting in on, so I can make sure that we're crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's. So as far as that goes, I'm gonna be responsible for making sure that those, at least attending the webinar to make sure that we get that in place. I'll pass it over to my colleague on the dollars.
And maybe I'll just add one point to what Director Dakin said, is we're already having monthly discussions with CMHC, and they're asking us where we're at, and we give them the similar details to what you're seeing in the report. In terms of the money, this is the 750 is what we believe right at the moment it's going to cost for the whole 4-year period. And you can see that just looking at the 600,000, while it isn't been approved in any way, that was the earmarked for installments for each of the years. And then these other consultant fees, once Newer or Republic Urbanism and MHBC do the zoning bylaw consultations and the CIP consultations, they'll be written and then they'll be out of the picture. And so those fees are things that will happen in the first year, and then we won't be seeing any additional fees, and we'll know what their numbers are like, you know, shortly within the next 6 months. Those bills will all be in, sort of thing.
Okay, so we're gonna let Councillor Wilsey have the last say, then we're gonna go to recess. So you open it up, Greg, you finish it.
Just two quick clarifications on the numbers, because I had said numbers and then I heard from the Director of Community Services and the Director of Economic Development that those numbers are wrong. So I just want to confirm this, because I'm looking at the CIP program, and the Director of Community Services has said that the $2,000 over the full 4 years. The CIP program says it's $2,000 per unit per year, up to $5,000 per unit per year. So that's where I got that $5 to $12.5 million from. So that's straight out of the CIP. And it's not over the full 4 years, it's each year. The other question I have was for the Director of Economic Development. She had said that the 575 units, that is our target over the full 4 years, rather than per year. Where I got 500 units per year is from the Department of Finance numbers with the number of houses we have in Strathroy-Caradoc. Which means if we're gonna hit our growth targets for the Department of Finance, they give us to use as our growth targets for a settlement boundary, we need to build between 500 and 600 units per year, because we need to get 6%, we have approximately 10,000 homes in Strathroy-Caradoc. To get this money, we only have to do that over 4 years, we actually have to only hit a quarter of the number of houses that the Department of Finance thinks that we're gonna build. That doesn't seem like incentive to build more houses, so I just want a little bit of clarity on that, because those numbers, when put against the backdrop of the Department of Finance numbers on the number of houses we have, seems like they actually want us to slow housing down to half what our previous rate was, which I do not think is the intent. So I just want some clarity on those comments from staff.
Yeah. Get that, and then we'll take a recess.
Through the chair to Councillor Wilsey, the 575 home target is for the half funding. It's specifically for this program. Perhaps Mr. Williams can talk about the other housing targets and how it's related. The 575 was part of the housing assessment needs study that the County of Middlesex created as part of this program, because it's a joint program between the county and the lower tiers that are participating in half.
Do you want, then Councillor Hippel has, then, okay, so Councillor Hippel, you did not get, are you speaking?
I'm happy to say,
Okay,
just
jump
a
in.
couple of sentences. Yes, so the Middlesex County Attainable Housing Review Report, the final report, did talk about 10% numbers, 15% numbers for affordable housing, and that's when we're looking at new development applications that come forward, we want to see at least 10% or 15%. During a year period, we might see one that's maybe higher end development, but during that same year, we'll also be looking for another development to be maybe more affordable, so that over a year's period, next year and the following years, that we try to push for affordable and attainable homes in the development plans that are coming forward to us. Not necessarily next year's forecast is this number of dwellings, and so then it's only when we're moving forward with the development that we're trying to attain these numbers, the percentages, and that's slide 10 of the slide deck from today. That's all I had to say.
Councillor Hippel.
Okay, so I'm not gonna rehash anything. I was also a little concerned about several things. I think actually a lot of you touched on the things that I was thinking about, but I think we've dehumanized the whole entire thing. So the only thing I wanted to add is that several people have read this as well, and we have hundreds, and any of you can roll your eyes, you can do all the things that you want to do, but we have hundreds of people in our municipality, believe it or not, that actually cannot afford to be in our municipality. It's not just kids, it's not people my age, just my age, some are. We have seniors. We have an incredible amount of people that need this. So let's put a little human side of it inside of what it is that we're trying to do while the program has already started. We're already moving forward. Yes, we do need to figure the numbers out, and there is a lot to be looked at, but we can't forget that why we're doing what we're doing. And you can say, well, we're only doing it because the government is telling us to do it. Sure, okay, we can do it that way too. Or we can look at it as this is a really important thing to move forward and do. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. So, all had our say. The last four items, 10.1.3, 10.1.4, 10.1.5, 10.1.6, and 10.2.1 need to be received for information. Bring the motion. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Kenneth, all in favor. That, one sec there, Councillor Gruber, we're getting there. Motion to recess at 8:31 to reconvene at 8:45. All in, Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Pammer, all in favor. Motion carries. We are in recess. Motion to resume proceedings at 8:41. Councillor Kennis, second by Councillor Hippel. All in favor? That motion carries. Drainage matters. First is the Erskine drain. Director Ortiz, was someone here to answer questions if anybody has any?
Yes, we have Mike DeVos from the Streets to answer questions on the next 3 reports.
So I expect everybody has, does Mike want to say something real quickly? I don't know if it's mandatory, but keep it as brief as possible, Mike.
Yeah, I'll keep it straight to answering questions.
Okay, thank you. I expect everybody's read the report. Are there any questions from affected property owners? Any requests from those present to add or remove their names from the petition? Any comments or questions from members of council? Being none, the motions in front of you are that council adopt the engineer's report for the Erskine Drain Arts Branch 2025, and further, the bylaw number 106-25 be referred to the consideration of bylaws section in the agenda for first and second reading. Deputy Mayor brings the motion, second by Councillor Brennan. All in favor? Motion carries. Next is the leach drain. This is a meeting to consider the engineer's report. Any questions from any affected property owners? None. Are there requests from those present to add or remove their names from the petition? Are there any questions from members of council? Motions are the council adopt the engineer's report for the leach drain 2025, and further, the bylaw number 107-25 be referred to the consideration of bylaws section of the agenda for first and second reading only. So, Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Brennan. All in favor? The motion carries. Lipset Drain Reassessment 2024. This meeting is to consider the engineer's report. Are there any questions from any affected property owners? Requests from those present to add or remove their names from the petition. Any comments or questions from members of council? Councillor Pelkman.
Yes, thank you. Just in the report of the affected owners, it says Mount Bridges lands. Does that, if I'm understanding that correct, that's all the homeowners in the urban area?
Mr. Rose? Yeah.
Yes, it is. There is a block defined as a certain area. Council instructs us to create a block, and then that block is assessed back to those particular group of landowners.
Any other comments or questions from members of council? Seeing none, the motion is as follows. Council adopt the engineer's report for the Lipset Drain Reassessment, and further, the bylaw number 105-25 be referred to the consideration of bylaws section of the agenda for first and second reading only. Councillor Caddis, second by Councillor Hippel. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Those motions carried. Thank you. Next is building and planning. Application for zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 14-2025, 245 2nd Street, Strathroy, Joanne DeGroot. I expect everybody has read the reports. Are there any questions of the planner? Councillor Derbyshire.
Thank you. So I just, on this one here, as I was a member of the Committee of Adjustment, I do believe, and I didn't get a chance to go back and review the video, but I believe at the time I had asked what the zoning of the house was going to be, and I thought that one of my questions was, how come the lands aren't being, why are they being future development and not A3? Because normally when you sever a farmhouse from a farm lot, one becomes R, whatever, 2, and the other become that. So when I read this, I was, and like I said, I was kind of taken aback in the way that I thought they were going to get the R1 residential designation for the house that was severed. That was kind of my understanding. So I am a bit perplexed in now that we're going to kind of say to them, no, you don't get to do that because of the industrial land that we've deemed all around it. So, you know, when this process happened, was it not in our official plan for it to be industrial lands? And maybe that notification should have been given that their house would be then zoned, what the heck's the term, you know, not in good standing, non-conforming, right? Which is what it says it's going to go to here. So I guess my question would be, when did we zone the lands industrial? And was everyone made clear that because this is industrial land, you can't have a residential house in the industrial area? And I'm through you to...
No, I have the same question, Councillor, Mr. Williams.
I'm unsure of the exact date in which the official plan designated these lands industrial. However, it was greater than 2008. 2005, when the official plan for Strathroy-Caradoc was put in place. So that was 2005. So it was before that point that they were industrial. Was our landowners made aware of the fact that their lands are designated one thing or another? Certainly they can always come and reach out to us if it's changing. That's usually done through an official plan amendment process, which they would be notified of. In this particular case, that entire area, the Molnar Industrial Park, was designated sort of all at the same time. And so there would have been notices sent out to the affected landowners. But that would have been many years ago from now.
Okay.
Sorry, just to follow up.
Yep, follow up, Councillor. Then Councillor Peltman.
So just to follow up, we did hear that they built a new house where the old house used to be. So at that point, right, that residential house at that point should have been legal non-conforming. And they shouldn't have been able to actually build the new house. The old house should have been the only one allowed there, being in the industrial acreage. Or at least at that point they would have found out or been informed that you're that. Because right now it says if it becomes legal non-conforming, that they can basically do nothing. They can live in the house, they can maintain the house, but they essentially cannot grow the house. They can't put anything else around it. Like, you can fix and maintain what you have, but you can't expand, you can't do anything essentially with this lot. You can sell it. You will then have to notify the next landowner that this is legal non-conforming. So, like, essentially what I'm asking now is, when they did the original, when they built this house, it would have been deemed industrial. So how did this kind of slip through now to where we have this problem? Or this predicament, not problem, predicament.
You can take a crack at that one, Mr. Williams.
Certainly, and I think that it's a very important point to note that we're talking about industrial designation. And so when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about the official plan. And when we're talking about zoning, I'm talking about it currently being zoned future development. And it would, at some point, be similar to the other properties in the area. Might be in an M2, which would be an industrial zone, a light industrial zone, something like that, for the main portion. For the house, it's under the current request in the application. The proposal is to make it R1, which is a residential one. And how does the house come to be? Well, I'm not the chief building official. I wasn't there when that happened. That's an easy answer that I could give you right now, and we could leave it like that. I could also say that there might have been an interpretation that future development in the zoning, one of the things that's permitted is agriculture. So agricultural use is permitted. And so a barn that exists on a property in a future development zone is permitted to be there. If you are farming those lands, you're permitted to do so. If you have a house that's associated with the agricultural operation, you can keep it. So what happens here is now we're removing the agriculture by doing the consent application. Now we have a standalone residential house that's changing the zoning from future development, which was allowed in an industrial designation. So I've now switched over to the OP. Now we're going to the zoning again, and we're asking for R1 in an industrially designated lands. This is a tricky and unfortunate set of circumstances where, as we heard earlier this evening, the house was rebuilt, investment was made here. So I certainly understand that part of it. And while we were looking at this, I was looking at ways in which we could somehow see the designation, because they don't work on the same designations, are more general in nature. They don't necessarily have to follow property lines. But the problem is, between the residential to the west of here, there's environmentally sensitive lands, and which are designated something else, and then there's these industrial lands. So I can't see another way around it, sort of thing, to try to come up with a solution.
I'm gonna go to Councillor Falkman and the Deputy Mayor, then I'll go to this side.
So my recollection of the Committee of Adjustment meeting is the same as Councillor Derbyshire's. We approved the application with conditions, and one of the conditions was the zoning change. So why is it in the list of conditions if you're gonna turn around and deny the zoning change? And whether it's a tricky situation or not, I'm gonna speak the unspoken part of this, which is we are in desperate need of industrial land, and this is a prime piece of land that could be converted into industrial land. If the only way we can convert that land from farmland into industrial land is to sever the property so that the owners can reap the profit of their years of hard work and sell that land to become industrial land as opposed to future development land, then we should just go ahead and approve the zoning amendment and be done with it. It's not like it's in an area where there's not single family homes. Like I said in the other one, if you were to take a span in the area that I could probably throw a baseball, there's probably 6 single family homes in there, including one directly to the east. So regardless of whether or not it's a tricky situation or not, the reality is we as a municipality would like to see them convert those lands from future development that are currently being used to farmlands to industrial. And if severing the property and changing the zoning allows that, then let's get on with it and do it.
Deputy Mayor.
Well said, Councillor Falkman, because I agree with you, and I am part of the C of A, and I was there for the meeting. So, you know, we have, if you're looking at the map, I'm looking at the map of the lands up in front. You got this house at 245. To the west of this, of course, you have the subdivision over into there, but then you still have 283 on the other corner of this property. So I don't think it's reasonable that 283 is an older house. Maybe somebody would buy that and knock it down to clear it out for whatever. But we're talking $1 million home that's 10 years old. I don't see that house coming down in the next 75 to 100 years. So I agree that we need to get this converted. Now, I spoke to Tim, and we were talking about it. He said, well, you know, potentially if you go to R1, they could put 3 houses on the front of that, because 4 as of right, because we have our half funding. Well, that's good. Like, if they want to use the front end of the property, that's another bonus that we're pushing for more housing in the municipality that's fully serviced. So I don't know what's going to happen to that frontage along 2nd Street. I could see it going light commercial. Maybe it'll go condo, you know, double stacked condo. Like, maybe that's going to end up being residential because you got house on both corners. I don't know. It'll figure itself out in the future. But like, I agree with Steve. There's no other way to make this happen. And I'm not prepared to tell somebody that they got to knock down their $1 million house. But 10 years ago, this organization said, you have a building permit, you can build it.
Thank you. And over this side, Councillor Canis.
Well, continuation of the choir singing here, we're all members, I think have to mention we're all members of the Committee of Adjustment that looked at this about a year ago. Just agreeing with everything everyone said previously. There's houses to the west, houses to the east. Across the road there are estate lots, so if you're concerned about this being an estate lot type of place, there are those 3 or 4 houses across the road which are on huge lots as well. So it's not, in my opinion, out of place. And the remarks that were made earlier by the groups, I agree with everything they've said. They've been there a long time, and if this in the end provides industrial land to the town, I think a small price to pay is to allow them to keep their residential home in that area.
Okay. One more, Councillor Buckman, I'm gonna ask somebody to bring motions.
No, I was gonna bring the motion
Okay,
to approve the zoning to R1.
Do you have a seconder? Deputy Mayor, any other questions, comments? Councillor Wilsey.
With this council, we know what happens if we go against the zoning that the planner has approved and we deny it. Just wondering what's the next steps here if we approve it when it's done? Does it still have to go to county? Do they have to do it? I just want to know what steps are. We've done a lot of things where we make a decision and then don't know what all the steps are following that to make sure it's actually going to happen. So it's just, is there someone who can help us? What happens when we vote to turn this over and approve it?
Mr. Williams.
So I'm not in your circle, so I can't necessarily recommend anything, but I will note that there were alternative recommendations, number 2 in my report, that talked about the approval. You don't yet have the zoning bylaw amendment on council, so you'd want to bring that forward. So this is just a suggestion. The next part would be making that decision and having that bylaw passed, and then there's an appeal period of 20 days.
Can I just add the same question Councillor Wilsey has? Does this go to county council for?
It does not.
It doesn't go, thank you. I had the same. Did you wish to amend your?
Yeah, I'll amend it to what it says in option 2.
Okay, you second that,
Sure.
Deputy Mayor? Okay, all in favor of those motions? Opposed, if any, that carries. Next up is a community improvement application. We all should have read it. The motion is to deny the beautification program to the maximum amount. Any comments or questions? Okay. So the motion in front of you is that council denies Sonia Such's application for funding through the beautification program to the maximum amount of $1,147.25. Anyone to bring that motion? Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Pelkman. Any questions or comments? Councillor Canis.
I agree with the recommendation, and it's purely on dollar amount, and yeah, again, moving forward in the future, I don't know if there's any way of these small ones that they are improving the property, but I understand when dollar amounts get too small, it becomes uneconomical to run it through the whole system of doing it. So if there's in the future an easier way, and maybe that's one of the things you're looking at, an easier way of doing these things that still reward people for making improvements, I would be interested in seeing that, but certainly I would support this motion that was just brought forward.
Okay. Any other comments? Second motion, all in favor? Opposed, if any? That motion carries. Next item is community improvement application 220 Egerton Street in Strathroy. The motion is the council approve Peter Buwaldy's Cap Realty Inc. application for funding through the beautification program to the maximum amount of $20,000. Someone to bring that motion. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Canis. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor of that motion? Opposed, if any? That carries. Community improvement application, 35 Front Street West, Strathroy. Motion is council approve Alicia Gleisers for Bosun's Pharmacy application for funding for to the maximum amount of $17,532.50. Councillor Pelkman, second by Councillor Hippel. Any questions or comments? Councilor Derbyshire.
Thank you. No, not particularly pertaining exactly to this, just about the remaining amount that's in the CIP program. How do we top it up? Does it get topped up through some sort of funding? Just as it relates to everything that's kind of gone on today, I realized that somebody took a large chunk of it, so.
Director Daking, or could you answer that if you can? Yep.
Yes, so annually that money gets topped up. So there was, this year was 500,000 in the 25 budget, and I think looking at the same in 26. And then,
So-
yes, and I was just reminded, the county has a CIP that they also kick in, so it kind of replenishes as well.
Yeah, Councilor Derbyshire.
So when we say through the budget, that's through taxation, that it is topped up, okay.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the seconded motion? Opposed, if any? That carries. Community Services, a tree removal at 650 Bennett Crescent in Mount Bridges. The motion is to approve the removal of the 5 trees at 650 Bennett Crescent, Mount Bridges, known as Bennett Crescent Park. Someone to bring that motion. Deputy Mayor, second by Councilor Wilsey. Are there any questions of the director? Go with Councilor Wilsey, then Councilor Kennis.
My question as I read the report is I'm looking at the types of trees that are there. And then there's also stuff in the report about replanting those trees. I see that the motion is just to remove the trees. Is there any thought to put those trees back, or if we do, if they're changing the different type of tree or a more suitable tree that is fast growing or doesn't die as quick? Or are we just talking about removing and we're not planning on putting trees back? Just a little bit of clarity on that.
Director, a little more.
Through the chair to Councilor Wilsey, the intent would be to replace the trees with new trees. The intent would be to put in a slower growing, more stronger tree such as a column or oak, so they don't have the expansive root network that the soft wood trees have. So it is on the second page where we talk about for a replacement cost of $2,500 that would be absorbed through our current operating budget.
And just as a follow-up, I realize that's in the report, which is what prompted my question, because it's not in the motion. The motion is only to remove.
Through the chair to Councilor Wilsey, the reason we brought forward the approval for removal is because we do have a tree bylaw that prohibits us from cutting down healthy trees. There are certain reasons why we brought this forward. We wouldn't want to go in and cut down 5 healthy trees and have the public all of a sudden calling council. We don't need permission from council to plant 5 new trees because it's an operational matter and it's fully funded through our current operating budget.
Okay. Councilor Kennis, did you have a question?
Yeah, just I guess a little bit related to that. What do we do, I guess, to make sure that the right trees are planted in the first place? Because this seems to be, you know, a mistake somewhere along the line, that the wrong types of trees. So do we intervene, or do we give recommendations on new plantings when these are first initiated?
Through the chair to Councilor Kennis, staff will be reviewing landscape plans now when they come in through the new subdivision agreements and such. So we've had a few of those that have come through recently.
Okay. Yep, one more, Councilor Wilsey, then we'll bring it to a vote.
One more, just on the types of trees that are being replanted, do we have a policy that we only plant native trees going forward? Or I know I'm going through a few things and renaturalizing some of my property and some different stuff. I would like to see the municipality have the same care for the birds and all the insects that keep everything alive.
Through the chair to Councilor Wilsey, we don't have it written into our bylaw that we're using native trees, but that's what we plant is native trees. That is one of the items that we'll want to update into the current bylaw, is to look to plant native species whenever possible.
Seeing no further questions, you have a seconded motion in front of you. All in favor of the motion? Opposed, if any? That motion carries. Next is 137 Frank Street, municipal use. The motions are the council approve option 4 as identified in the report, and for the council direct staff to refer the $500,000 for the exterior building repairs to the 2026 capital budget. I'll have a question right away. Would someone, Deputy Mayor, some second, Councillor Pammer. So indulge me, I want to ask my question. We're just referring that to the budget. It is not being approved, correct? It's going as part of the, just as budget discussion, so we're clear.
Through the chair to the chair, you are absolutely correct.
First time tonight, mark it down. Are there any questions on, Councillor Brennan?
In the spirit of multi-year budgeting, if we are referring this $500,000 to the 2026, would the estimates ranging from $2.5 million to $5 million, depending on the extent of the renovations, be then placed into our multi-year budget as well? And I'm asking that perhaps to the Director of Finance, I'm not sure. But we have talked about multi-year budgeting, so if we're putting 500 grand for this, it might leverage, make us pay $2.5 to $5 million to continue work on the building. I would think that that money should be somehow placed into our multi-year budget as well. Just asking that question.
Director Dakin.
Through the chair to Councillor Brennan, we can do that. I think that's the incentive of doing a multi-year budget, that you sort of get your pearls in a line on a string, and that's the best way to do it. So yeah, that would be put into those other budgets.
Would that need to be a motion, Mr. Mayor, or does that just be direction to staff?
Do you want to make a motion and amend the motions, or?
I would make a motion that if we're putting the $500,000 into the 2026 budget tentatively, subject to approval by council, the same be done with the $2.5 to $5 million projection of the extent of the renovations in a multi-year budget plan, because I think we want to know where we are with what we're doing with the next council.
Mike and Donna.
That's an amendment. You want to okay with that? Donna, you okay with that? Any further questions? Councillor Derbyshire.
So we're not picking a path here, we're just setting aside 500.
We're referring it, we're not setting it aside, we're just referring it to the budget discussions. Nothing's being.
So like a place marker? No,
I
well,
know you don't like that word, I'm trying to think of a word, referring it for discussion.
I just didn't know, I just see in the options, I see 500 in option 1 and option 4. And I didn't know if in picking this 500, we then have determined a path of options we're going. So.
Yep, sorry, I'm gonna let, go ahead, yep.
Through the chair to Councillor Derbyshire, the recommendation to council is to approve option 4, which is identified in the report, which directs staff to refer $500,000 for the exterior building repairs to the 2026 capital budget. Option 4 is to have staff come back to council with a further report identifying some possible uses of the space and looking for permission to get funding to up to $25,000 to engage A-Link, so we can go out to a Class C costing to help facilitate some of that multi-year budgeting that Councillor Brennan was referring to, so we can get more concrete numbers. It may only be 1.5 million, depending on what we choose to do. So that's why we've put option 4 in there.
So that's what we're voting? Is that what?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The motion is to approve option 4 as identified in the report, and further that council directs staff. Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, oh, sorry, Bo.
So oh yeah, turn this up.
Yes,
So in doing that, we're not just setting a placeholder, we're essentially telling the municipality, we're going to reimagine 137 Frank Street. So it's not just setting a place number aside, understand that we are actually going to move forward with this.
That's my motion.
Okay, I'm not for that.
Any other? Councillor Pelton.
I'll just add in the previous discussions, there were questions about what would we use that for, which weren't really answered because we hadn't done any further work. I'm not 100% sold on option number 4. I'm about 80% there, but I can't for sure make the decision until we have some kind of concrete answer about how does the staff think that they can use that building efficiently to better serve our residents. It is an asset that we own. We have to do something with it. So I think we need to spend a little bit of money to try and decide how we can use it and still keep our operations efficient.
Agreed.
So,
One more, Councillor, then.
I know we're gonna vote on it, but essentially, number A would fix this place so that it is workable or repaired, but yet then gives us the option to figure out what exactly reimagination this looks like.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn it to him to answer.
Through the chair to Councillor Derbyshire, you're right. The $500,000 with regards to option 1 is to put work into the exterior of the building to prevent further decay of the building. That would still allow council an opportunity to figure out what to do with the building. Option 4, when we refer to it as a reimagined 137 Frank Street, is really just putting another layer to that. We're not committing to anything. You're not committing to $500,000 tonight to be spent on 137 Frank Street. You're not even committing to spending $25,000 on engaging an architect. What you're doing is you're sending staff back with the intent of reimagining 137 Frank Street, bringing you back a report requesting funds up to about $25,000 to engage an architect for them to facilitate maybe some consultation with council to see what you want to go on down there. No different than we've done with other projects, whether we're doing a park or a playground or an arena or a community center. We want to engage. So that would be part of that $25,000. It just wouldn't be staff's vision. It would also be council's vision.
Okay, I'll let you one more.
That's fine, and I can understand where you're coming from, but then option 4 should be the $25,000. The 500 should essentially be set aside so that this building gets renovated and fixed. Not renovated, but fixed up so that it is usable, sellable, whatever it is. I have no problem with that. If the place is deteriorating, let's get it so it's not deteriorating. But aside from that, let's definitely walk slowly down this path, especially with budgeting coming up. Whereas I feel like when you actually read it, it says renovate, repurpose for municipal use, fully AOD compliant with accessible buildings, provide growth capacity for the municipality, and use the 500 to help fix the building's exterior. So essentially you get a whole lot of stuff going on there, and we're gonna fix the outside. Whereas number 1 says fix the outside, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do with it. So you guys decide what you want. I just think there is direction in what we're doing with number 4. There's not. With number 1, it basically says set the 500 aside for the building repair, and we'll think about what we're going to do after that.
Number 4 was, so go ahead.
Yeah, and I made the motion specifically because I see this as coming out of the gate with the concept that let's look at reimagining this for municipal use, whatever that does look like, and that A-Link is going to walk us through that process. Having dealt with them already a few times on issues, most recently down at Tri-Township Arena, where they walk you through the process and start to prepare stuff for you and tell you don't want to go down that path because that ain't going to work. So whether that's where it ends up, Councillor, I don't know. But we need to come out of the gate and start heading in a direction, and let's see where it takes us.
Councillor Wilsey, you didn't get to chime in, so go ahead.
No, I just had a question on kind of a little bit more definition of municipal use. Does it include any recreation, or is it just offices or potentially council chambers, or just a presentation we saw? Or is there a chance for recreation or something like that that the community has asked for at this location? Just clarity on whether it's just municipal, as in municipal staff, municipal offices, potentially council chambers, or is it something that could potentially be rec or seniors or meeting rooms or something like that?
So through the chair to Councillor Wilson, great question, and that's why we engaged an architect. and have them consult with council and come back with some options for presentation. This isn't necessarily a staff-driven process. Municipal use can mean many things, and you've hit many of them.
A-Lake would basically.
Okay, so
Again, we go back to,
you got one here, we have a second motion. All in favor of the motion in front of you, opposed if any? Motion carries. Deputy Mayor, the County Council report.
There's a little bit of stuff here, but given the time, I'm going to go. I'll just leave it. There's nothing too serious. The fire chief is here. There was 2 issues there. We received an email about a wrap on a fire truck. If you could just speak about that quickly.
Yes, certainly, through the chair to council. I was approached by the president of the Strathroy-Caradoc Firefighters Association with regards to putting a wrap to commemorate Remembrance Day coming up. I did send council an email and a picture of what's suggested on the side of the truck. Obviously, this is a wrap. It's going to have no effect on how the apparatus operates at all. I just wanted council to know that they saw the truck with this wrap on it, what it was all about. Essentially, it's a picture of a flower class Corvette that served in the Atlantic convoy from 44 to 45 in the war. HMCS Strathroy, and then poppies and so on and so forth. With Remembrance Day coming up, it seemed like a good idea. It's at no cost to council at all. The Strathroy-Caradoc Firefighters Association is purchasing and paying for this to be installed. And as I say, given that the time of year is coming, I've got no objections to it being there. That did include some examples of other fire departments that have done the same and to a far greater extent than what we're looking at right here.
As you noticed, I just jumped the gun. Yeah, I just jumped the gun. So since I started, I got one other inquiry thing just to bring up real quickly. So my apologies to council. I jumped the gun, looked at the clock instead of paying attention to what I was doing. This past week, I was over at MLPS for Cardiac Survivor Day, celebration of a number of people that in the last year were saved. Our Strathroy Fire Department, police, and obviously the dispatchers part of that team were all recognized, and I will try to be arranging to get that recognition brought into this chamber at a near future meeting, because I think it's important for the community to see that occurring here. It was an incredible day. So well done, Chief, and again, once again, send my congratulations to your team of officers who handled that. Yes, sir.
Could I just add something to your comment? Yeah, through the chair to council. As you're aware, I believe it was probably the early part of 2024, I came to council with a report to have all 3 stations within the municipality running medical calls to a very limited definition of the medical calls, one of which was for the vital signs absent call. As a result of the decision that was made in this room by this council, there is now a gentleman that is walking amongst us, and not a particularly old gentleman. So sometimes I know that somebody said he had got to make the difficult decisions, and I know that there was a fair amount of conversation with regards to that, but it was a very good decision and a very positive outcome for a member of this community. So I, as on behalf of the fire department, thank you for making that decision.
Councillor Palmer.
I'm fine, thank you.
Councillor Derbyshire.
I'll just leave it. I think everyone wants to go home.
Councillor Pelkman.
Nothing tonight.
Councillor Brennan.
I was just trying to look up the Jays score, but nothing from me. Thank you.
Councillor Wilsey.
Nothing tonight.
Councillor Kennis.
I will, and I actually, just to follow up on the wrap, is that like, will that be a long-term wrap that stays on the engine for a long period of time, or how long do those things last? So.
Well, that's a good question. They do last a very long time because all of our fire apparatus are wrapped, so they'll last a long time. again, if it came through the Firefighters Association, and if they choose to change that next year, then so be it.
No, I think it's great. I just hope that it's there for a long time. So.
Councillor Hippel.
I have two things, I'll be fast. First, I want to congratulate all of the students that were at convocation on Friday. Did I say Friday? Yeah. Anyways, this past week, congratulations to all of them. Lots of successful students coming into that live in our municipality that are going out to spread their wings in various different ways, and hopefully they come back and bring all of the great things back into our municipality. I do have a quick question for the deputy mayor and for the mayor, because you are also, it basically has to do with the building in Mount Bridges, Caradoc Place. So there's a gentleman that, an elderly gentleman that moved there about a year or so ago. He became fairly unsteady on his feet, and he is really struggling with the door on his apartment opens, but it closes really quickly, and he's having trouble getting in and out. And the reason I bring it here is because he approached a couple different people for the property management, and was basically told it would be a lot of work and a lot of money, so don't bother applying. How do we deal with something like that in a situation like that? Or did I just send it to the right two people?
I'm going to suggest the right 4 people.
Sorry.
It is on the board agenda for Monday.
Sorry, 4 people.
Yeah, so it is on the agenda. It's a board item.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and I'll make mine rather quick. Once a year, I feel like I'm entering, I wouldn't say enemy territory, but different territory, because being a proud graduate of Glencoe High School, once a year I have to go to Strathroy District High School and for the commencement ceremonies. But all that being set aside, I'm always impressed by the young people who are coming forward, and I'm impressed by 2 things. Where they've gone on for their continuing education, but also the number of young people who are entering the trades, and both young men and women entering the trades. So that was my takeaway from Friday night. Congratulations to them. We talk about the trades, and we have a skilled trade center here in town. So the number of young people who are entering the trades is pretty phenomenal. So, and I did mention to them that, as Councillor Kennis may know, we lost every football game in the 70s at Strathroy. So.
That was Park Hill you lost to. That's
I'm still looking.
Park Hill.
I'm still looking for the tapes on that, Councillor. So the motions on the bylaws. Motion that bylaw number 105-25, bylaw number 106-25, and bylaw number 107-25 receive first and second reading only, and further that bylaw number 116-25, bylaw number 117-25, and bylaw number 118-25 receive first, second, third, and final reading. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Kennis, all in favor? That motion carries. Next meeting is our special council meeting this coming Monday, and then the regular council meeting on Monday, November 3rd. With that, we'll make a motion to adjourn at 9:24. Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Kennis, all in favor? Carried. We are adjourned.